Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Off-Farm Income Podcast. Thank you very much for joining us here on our YouTube channel for episode number 787. Well, today is kind of a special episode. It's an FFA episode, but instead of focusing on a supervised agricultural experience, we're going to be focusing on a heroic deed done by an FFA student from Glasgow, Kentucky. Jaxen Arms, who is a freshman at Barren County High School in Glasgow, Kentucky. He and two of his fellow FFA members were driving with his mother on December 14th, right before Christmas, when they saw a neighbor's barn on fire, and they pulled off. All three boys ran right into the barn. They rescued 85 head of dairy cattle, rescued 2 stock trailers, and a couple tractors as well. And they were able to get the fire department called, and they were able to put the fire out before the fire reached the office area with all the records for the dairy. It's a really heroic story. Pretty phenomenal conditions they ran into. Jaxen will describe it in the interview, and we're going to start that for you right now. Joining me today is Jaxen Arms, and Jaxen is coming to us from Glasgow, Kentucky at Barren County High School. And he and a couple of his classmates did something really heroic right before Christmas. And when I had heard about what had gone on, I wanted to reach out and have them on the show. And I'm lucky enough to be able to speak with Jaxen today. So, Jaxen, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, you bet. It is my pleasure to speak with you. And we're about to share your story with everybody who listens to this show. But I've already read about it, and I wanted to say, job well done. Really impressive what I read about you and your classmates. So, Jaxen, I want to ask you about that, and we're gonna kind of circle back around that. But what I'd love to do for the moment is just kind of explain to our listeners just who you are and what you're about. Can I ask you just a few questions about you?
Yeah.
All right. Well, how old are you?
15.
15, and this is your first year at Barren County High School, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, when you're not at school, when you're at home, do you live on a farm, or do you live in a town, or something kind of in the middle of those two?
I live on a farm.
Okay. What kind of farming do you do?
We do row crops.
Oh, okay. What kind of crops are you growing there in Kentucky?
Soybeans and corn.
Soybeans and corn. Okay. Now, is that farm something that's been in your family for some time, or did it begin with your folks?
It's been there for some time.
So like grandfather or great-grandfather or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. And is that the primary occupation of, say, your dad or your mom, or do they work off the farm as well?
No, that's the main thing they do.
Okay. So full-time farming. That's great. Very good. And so I'm assuming you're very active on the farm yourself.
Yeah. Pretty active.
What kind of daily responsibilities do you have there?
We go out and make sure everything's doing all right, and we also have horses to take care of.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you know about row crops, you obviously know about equipment, and you know about livestock as well at horses.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Now, is this your first year in the FFA as a freshman?
No, I done it as a middle schooler last year.
Oh, you did? Okay, so this is year number 2. Why did you want to join the FFA? Why is this something you wanted to do?
I just thought it'd be a great thing to try out, and yeah.
And you've come back for a second year, so you must have thought, yep, I was right.
Yep.
Okay. Is there one particular thing so far about being in the FFA that kind of stands out? What do you enjoy the most?
I like all of it.
You like all of it, okay. Are you doing CDE competitions or shop classes or something like that?
Not right now as a freshman, I'm not.
Okay. So right now kind of like the introduction to agriculture and kind of getting to know how the organization works?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Well, I really do appreciate you coming on, and I always like to acknowledge who your FFA advisors are. Who is that for you?
It's Doug Berry, A.J. Mitchell, and Dr. Moore.
Okay, well, thank you so much for acknowledging them, Jaxen. And I'm going to take a quick moment just to acknowledge a couple of our sponsors. And everybody, of course, you know I want to talk about Powder River Livestock Handling Equipment. They've been a great sponsor of this show for some time now, and we use Powder River for our cattle here on our farm in Idaho. And man, I have just grown up around this brand out here in the West, and we hope that you at your local farm and ranch retailer can find that Powder River Green in their sales yard, so you've got the opportunity to own this fine cattle handling equipment as well. Squeeze chutes, sweep tubs, calf tables, runways, whatever you need, Powder River will supply the best that you can possibly buy. Check them out over at powderriver.com. And then, of course, I want to make sure and mention Lacrosse Footwear, lacrossefootwear.com. Just a great brand. They make an absolutely great chore boot, neoprene-based rubber boot, plus many, many others. And it's something that I found on my own and then started a sponsorship with them afterwards. And I'm just so proud to be part of the journey now for this company that started in the 19th century. Really, really cool story. And I always love to profile lacrosse on our FFA episodes because they are proud to support the FFA by annually sponsoring 15 scholarships along with 100 jackets as part of the Give the Gift of Blue program. So please check them out at lacrossefootwear.com, and the next time you need a pair of boots to work out on your farm, your small acreage, to go hunting, whatever it may be, slip a pair of lacrosse boots on your feet. All right. Well, Jaxen, normally in this part of the show, we'll start talking about what the students have done for their supervised agricultural experience. But in your case, you and your classmates had an event happen right before Christmas that's pretty out of the ordinary. Can you let everybody know what occurred?
Well, me, my mom, Mason Penington, and Jonathon London was just got back from feeding some hay for my neighbor's cattle. Mm-hmm. We was driving down the road, and we saw one of his barns. It looked like it was smoking pretty good. My mama thought they was just burning something and thought it was all right, but I didn't see anybody back there.
Yeah.
So we drove back there, and the whole barn was burning down. He had about 85 head of cattle in there that they was about the AI in the morning.
Okay.
And we just went to work and tried to get everything out that we could.
Wow. Now, so this barn belonged to one of the young men that you were with?
No, it was one of my daddy's neighbors, Gary Scott.
Okay, it was Mr. Scott's barn, and so nobody was home, and if you guys had not been coming by, then this barn would have just burnt up, and everything inside of it, livestock and equipment and all of that, would have just stayed inside.
Yeah, they wouldn't have made it out of it.
Oh, wow. Well, so tell me how it all unfolded. I mean, when you guys saw this and you pulled up and nobody was there, how did you figure out who was going to do what?
We just all three went inside the barn and scoped out what had to get out. Then we just all went to work. Okay,
so what all had to get out? I realized there was cattle. Was there other livestock or just cattle inside?
It was just dairy cattle. And then we had 2 tractors parked like very close to the barn. They had two cattle trailers backed in the barn. I picked up with a bucket on a tractor and pulled them out. And then there were some semen tanks and welders and cutting torches we had pulled out of there.
Wow, that is fantastic that you guys did that. So acetylene tanks and things for the welders that were sitting in there?
Yep.
Oh, man, so you don't want those things in there when that barn's on fire.
Yeah, that could have been bad if they caught fire.
Absolutely. And I mean, same with the, I guess the tractors were outside but close to the barn, but of course they've got diesel in them and everything. So you were able to fire those up, and then you were able to use them. As you were kind of rescuing the tractors, you were able to use the tractors to rescue those trailers, those stock trailers that were in the barn as well.
Yeah.
All right. Now, were the cows just scattered once you got them out, or were you able to turn them out into a fenced pasture?
I put them in a freestyle barn.
Oh, okay. So you were able to move them to another barn?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. And so how close was the fire to the livestock by the time you got there?
It was over top of them.
Is that right? So
by the time we got in there, beams and stuff were falling around them.
Oh, you're kidding me. Wow. So the fire was up in the rafters and on the roof of the barn, and it was spreading, and so ash and beams and all of that type of stuff was falling as you got them out.
Yes, sir.
Now, I have never, I've worked with cattle most of my life, and I've seen a lot of cattle when they're spooked, but I've never seen cattle under these particular circumstances. How are they behaving?
They actually behaved better than what I would have thought of. They was calm and everything, but they had a scary eye to them.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're dairy cattle. They're used to people being around them every day. They've kind of got a routine. And so that part isn't worrying them, but they knew something was going on that wasn't right.
Yeah.
Now, the way you moved them out, did you have to move them past the fire, or were you able to take them out going, I guess, away from the fire?
Yeah, I went away from the fire, but getting to them, we had to go through the fire.
Okay, now tell me about that. How do you get through fire?
Just don't think about it and go through it, I guess.
Well, that'd be the only way I could do it. But when you say you have to go through it, I guess just describe that. Was there like hay on the floor that was burning that you kind of had to jump over, or what are we talking about here?
There was, I think there was about 3 or 4 square bales that was on fire, and we, I guess, jumped over them.
Okay. Okay. And so then you had to bring the cows back past those square bales that were on fire?
No, we had to go push them out around them.
Okay, all right. But to get to them, to be able to do that, you had to go over those bales.
Yeah.
That is pretty incredible. My goodness. And so you got the trailers out, you got the tractors away, you got the cows out, and then I'm assuming that while this is all going on, is your mom calling the fire department or something like that?
Well, she tried to. She was a little tore up.
Okay, so she was kind of worried about it and kind of freaking out with you running in there, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when did the fire department get called?
I guess about as soon as we was rolling up, my mom started talking to them. But they came out there about 10 minutes after we got everything out.
Gotcha. So, it's out on a farm. It takes them a while to get there, right?
Yeah.
Very interesting. Well, so you got the animals out. Was the barn a total loss, or was the fire department able to salvage part of it?
It was a total loss, besides the office part of it.
So the office was preserved. I mean, at least that's something. I'm sure there were records in there that would be hard to be replaced and things like that.
Yeah.
Now, any idea what caused the fire? Have you heard?
It was a side-by-side that got hot, and then it had some hay around it, and it just got hot and caught on fire.
Oh, really? So we're talking about a side-by-side like a Polaris Ranger or something like that.
That's exactly what it was.
It was? Okay, well, lucky guess, I guess. So it was a Polaris Ranger, and somebody had been out riding it, driving it. They brought it back in and parked it, and probably on the exhaust manifold or something like that, some hay was touching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's real interesting. I don't know, that's interesting, Jaxen. I don't know if that's an issue in Kentucky, but where I live out here in the West, a lot of our wildfires during the summer are caused that exact way. When a vehicle's out driving around out in the desert and they pull off of the little dirt road to park so they're not blocking the road, and they're parked over the top of some really dry grass, it hits the catalytic converter, hits the exhaust manifold or something like that, and it starts on fire. I mean, that's actually really common out where I live, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's not really common out here that much.
Yeah, Kentucky's so green, I wouldn't expect it to be. Now, that's fascinating. So, did all 3 of you just charge right in, or did anybody need to be convinced?
No, we all 3 just went in.
And how thick was the smoke when you got in there?
It was unbearable. It was horrible.
Yeah, did you have to get treated by paramedics and get some oxygen and things like that when it was all said and done?
No. Yeah, we was all right. I mean, it wasn't that bad.
So you felt like you could breathe okay when you got out of the barn and got everything taken care of?
Yeah, it just took my breath away from me for about a minute.
Yeah, how hot was it inside there?
Oh, it burnt my hair and just burnt a little piece of my skin on my arm.
Is that right? So you had some singed hair and actually some burnt skin.
Yeah.
How about for the other fellas?
It burnt one of us beard. One of them's beard.
I believe it. Now, why did all 3 of you happen to be together with your mom? Were you coming from some sort of an event or heading to something?
Oh, they were going to spend the night with me.
Okay. So you picked him up, and you were just going to have a good old-fashioned sleepover, and just happened upon this.
Yeah.
Now, when was this? I know it was before Christmas. Was it in December?
Yeah, it was December 14th.
Okay.
I think so.
So just a couple of weeks before Christmas, or even not, less than 2 weeks before Christmas. Man, I'm sure your neighbor would prefer this never, ever happen, but what a Christmas gift to have you guys driving by and not just call the fire department, but go in and, save all those cows and the equipment too.
Yeah. He was really appreciated.
Oh, I bet. Now, did they get home shortly after the fire department got there, or were they, they were out to dinner or something like that and nobody knew how to reach them?
They was out eating in town.
Yeah, okay. So they're out having dinner, and all of a sudden they come home and there's all these people at their place, and it's like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, that is crazy. My goodness. Well, I don't know if it could happen this quick or not, but have you noticed, have they been able to start rebuilding that barn yet?
Not yet. They just now tore it down.
Okay, so they just now got it knocked down, and they'll be getting started. Well, what does it feel like, Jaxen? It's a rare opportunity that somebody has to do something as meaningful in the heat of the moment, no pun intended there, that you and your friends got to do. How does that feel after the fact?
I feel the same. It was just something we had to do.
Just something you had to do. It's just what neighbors do for each other, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that is fantastic. What a great story. So, have you been interviewed a lot about this? I know you've been interviewed at least once, because that's how I found out about it. I read an article about it. Has this been something that all of a sudden you're doing all the time?
It's happened about 3 or 4 times.
3 or 4 times. Do you get tired of telling the story?
Not really.
Oh, good. You shouldn't. You should be proud. You and your friends and your mom should all be proud of what you did that day. It's great that you were there to help out a neighbor in such a significant way.
Yeah.
Well, so let's talk about you. Something like this happens, and it seems like it's just something that happened, but then on the other hand, it can be a meaningful moment in your life. Have you or any of your friends, has this maybe given you some ideas of something you'd like to do in the future for a career or anything like that, like being a firefighter or maybe a volunteer?
It made me think a little more about being a volunteer, but
that's yet to come.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what's so interesting is, you being in the FFA, it's all about, there's a ton of community service worked into that. And I know at the moment you were just thinking about your neighbor, whatever clubs or organizations you belong to didn't mean a thing. But I have never, this is quite a community service effort by an FFA student, one of the most significant I've ever heard of, Jaxen.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, I think it's fantastic. I think you and your classmates, are you all in the same freshman class together?
No, they're both sophomores.
They're both sophomores, okay. And is everybody in the FFA, or is that just you?
It's just me.
Just you, okay. Well, what the three of you did really is a testament to all three of you and your parents, of course. And it's a testament to the community you're growing up in. It's a testament to your school in terms of the type of citizens you are. And thank you so much for being great neighbors and great citizens. And congratulations on doing something really heroic. I think it's fantastic, Jaxen.
Oh, thank you. And comes to find out, we're all 3 FFA members.
Oh, you are all 3. Oh, well, wonderful. Well, it's a testament to your FFA chapter as well. I think that's fantastic.
Thank you.
You bet. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this story with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us, everybody, and thank you to Jaxen Arms and his classmates and his mom for being such great community members, such great neighbors, and helping a farmer out. What a wonderful story about what could have been an unbelievable tragedy not turning out that way. Thank you all for joining us, and as always, enjoy your journey to the ultimate lifestyle business, agriculture.